Hey everyone, welcome to the Seth and Beth podcast. I am Seth Kirchanan. This is my wife Beth. We're from Akron, Ohio. We have the esteemed honor, Beth. Wouldn't you say the esteemed honor?
Yes.
To have yes, I know Pye. To have Pye, a shout out to our Breakfast Club friends. Pye Jirsa is on our podcast. I can't believe you're sitting here. I have a dear friend in Columbus. His name is Rob McCormick. He's a very a stout follower of you. He said he was going to he would love to fly out and just towel the sweat off of your brow.
Ooh.
Just to get this, just to get
that is hilarious.
But
a little bit discomforting, but like it's
yes. So he's
a great
available.
guy.
He's currently available. If you love you, Rob. But Pye, thanks for being here.
Well, can he be like a water boy? You know, when with those water bottles and the little guy comes up and Pye just goes like this.
Yeah,
and
just
then Rob goes,
just mid sentence. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's at that stage. No, I mean, I think every person we have on here who's had some, I guess maybe some fame in the photography community, they're always very humble. So I'm sure you're the same. But you do have your hands in a ton of things, and your name can pretty much not be ignored in the industry, which is.
I think if you're like in Ohio and Google like Indian wedding photographer, your name pops up first.
Like no, Beth.
Everyone.
It's not even photographer. It's just like Indian weddings. Lin Jirsa's Indian wedding timeline is the first thing that comes up.
That's all Chris, dude. That's my business partner, Chris. He is the master of SEO, all things on the Jugal machine. He's
what
the
did
Jugal
you
guy.
call it? A Jugal?
The Jugal machine.
The Jugal.
Well, that's what I have to call it now the rest of my life.
It's the Jugal.
So anyway, Pye, thanks for being here. Tell us about. So before we get into everything you're into, give us a little background about who you are, where you're from, how you got going in photography.
Let's see. I'm from like how far do you want? I'm an Iranian.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you
wanna
can tell
know.
from my complexion. I'm brown. You got it.
Yeah.
Beth's like, it just
Yes.
registered now.
Okay.
I see it in your eyes. Okay.
We joke around. I have a buddy who's from Iraq, but he says he's a white guy because he's kind of white looking, and we always make fun of like, dude, you're not white. And then so like when he kind of wants to be like from Iraq, he's from Iraq, and then other people see him as like a white dude. It's hilarious. But I wasn't wondering that. Maybe
He's
not that
kind
far.
of right though, because like
Well,
Middle Eastern are actually Aryan. They're actually white people, but there's so much sun there. I think we get very dark.
I better tell my buddies, and they're busting chops. But
I'm just saying, like if we take our clothes off, then it's all white, dude. Do you want to?
Dude,
Beth,
should we
hi.
do this?
This is like a very informal podcast.
Dude, I
right?
went
We're
to
2
a
minutes
fundy
in.
I went to a fundy party yesterday, and they were serving these drinks called jungle juice.
Jungle juice.
And if you
That sounds
drink
like a
too
party.
many, your clothes come off and you get naked.
let's go back to
that's
Iran.
like written on the side of the drink, like
Dude,
the bottle.
I'm serious.
Hey, were you born there? Born here? When did you come over?
So I was born there. I was here when I was 2. Grew up in a little bit of California, mostly Utah, and then
We're at in Utah.
I went to Cottonwood High School actually, like right in Murray and Salt Lake City.
Okay, we did a Utah trip. It was incredible.
5
All the-
national parks,
all
all
the
of
parks,
them with the little kids.
The outdoors vibe in Utah is like
It was so
second
good.
to none. Like,
How'd you get out to Cali?
so I had a lot of family growing up that lived in California. So I guess I kind of always, like every summer was California for me. And so like growing up, it was like the happy place.
Yeah.
And then so when I graduated from University of Utah, I was like, I'm going to go and live in Cali. And I got a job at Ernst & Young. My first career was professional public accounting. So I used to be a public accountant. I'm a CPA. I'm licensed.
Wow.
Yeah. And Justin and Chris are as well. That's where we all went together to Ernst & Young.
Thus the great business
I
decisions.
want to
and
ask him
business
some
moves.
math questions and see how fast he can get them.
right now.
Okay, so
Huh?
we quit accounting for a reason. Like we left it so we wouldn't have to do that
We'll
kind
just
of
stick
shit
with the
anymore.
photography question.
Okay, ready? Quadratic formulas. Here we go.
Very formula.
When
We're
did
gonna
you
foil.
get?
We're gonna foil some numbers
When
together.
did you get your first camera?
Oh shoot, dude! The day that we started, we got our first legit camera when we said let's take pictures for a living.
Oh,
Wait,
Yeah.
How does that even? How that?
so this is the opposite story. Most people are like, "Well, I got it as a hobby," and then but I've never heard someone go cold turkey.
How many of us really like? You hear that story all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh man, my dad put a camera in my hands when I was like 3 years old." I'm like, "Man, I couldn't even hold anything when I was 3 years old. Like, let alone a camera or figure out how to push a button."
Yes.
Like, come on.
I hear you.
Realistically, okay, so to those that did actually have that experience, I don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
But can we all just be honest for a little bit?
We can.
We can.
This is the comfort nest.
Oh,
This is the comfort
This
nest.
is the
Like old
comfort
school.
nest. This is the comfort nest.
This is the comfort.
What color are her panties she's wearing right now? I mean,
Wow.
are they cotton? Are they something new I've never seen before?
Maybe it's okay. Get back, Beth. We have Pye Jirsa on
Can
the
I,
show.
Right.
can I steal that? This is what if I?
Yeah.
This is the comfort.
This is the comfort nest.
Pye Jirsa comfort nest. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so yeah, no, we quit Ernst & Young and we had kind of a plan to go in to do a web-based business, and we had secured
the we?
funding. Me, Justin, and Chris. So
Oh,
we've been
wow.
close friends
Wow.
for over 20 years.
Okay. Wow.
They were all accountants with you at Ernst
We all
and
decided to
Young?
go and study accounting in college. Then we all decided to go to Ernst & Young. Like all of us kind of just went together.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that was crazy. I could hear that.
Yeah.
So when we quit, we had this web startup and we had funding for it. We had close to $1 million in funding. And then the recession was like full bloom. Like we'd quit
Yikes.
3 weeks prior and then it was all over the news. And we were like, okay, now we're screwed. And our investors called and said, the money's gone. We're not going to invest in anything this risky. Sorry, guys. And so we basically let everyone go and just tried to figure out like, what do we do next? And I had this idea. We saw somebody at a wedding taking pictures, and I was like, "That's interesting. How much does this person get paid?" And they were like, "Oh, I'm getting paid like $1,000 to do this." And I was like, "That's a lot of money for a single day work." Because like every possible misconception. You have.
Right.
Oh my gosh, only like a couple hours
You
of work.
just like
and it's
showed up and made $1,000.
yeah, that's crazy. So I told Justin Grizz, I was like, maybe we should consider doing that, on the weekends, so that way we can have a full-time gig. Like we can still fund ourselves and figure out what we want to do next. So we bought a camera. That's what led us to buying the camera.
Did you guys had one camera? Like one kit?
Ask me next where you think we got it from.
You went to Best Buy.
Costco.
We're members.
You went to
I
Costco.
got the Costco Rebel kit.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you shoot first? What did you photograph
The
first?
Rebel kit.
I think it was a flower. Like I'm trying not to be like super cliche about it, but like, no, it was like,
Flowers or?
You're like, this is pretty good flower.
I didn't even know how to get like an exposure like at the time. I was like, I don't know what's going on with this thing.
On auto.
Yeah.
Humble beginnings.
I think
like
we've
this.
got a good thing going, guys.
Yeah. Like,
This is our same path. I started on flowers and then moved to babies.
that's
Okay.
a really natural progression. Like things
Yeah.
that grow.
Well, our son was born in the
Right.
spring, so all right, keep going. This is hilarious. Keep going.
So you picked up like the biggest package of toilet paper and your Rebel kit from Costco, and you were ready for your life to begin.
Do you follow like my to-do list? Like that's literally like what's on my Costco list.
Right. Right?
Okay. Yeah, and I would say like don't forget the meat. Like you got to get the
Yeah.
Costco meats.
Huge pork loin.
We have,
If you're vegetarian, I'm sorry, but Costco meat, like it's
Yes.
good quality. Like
it's
good stuff.
delicious.
we don't buy that yet, Beth. Do we?
Yes,
a lot
we
of
do.
that.
You don't even know
Oh,
what
you
you're
bring it
eating.
home.
Yeah.
I just cut
You
it open
don't
and cook
We
it.
even
don't buy meat.
No.
Like what are you?
She does the Costco shopping. I've never been there.
You've never been there. The meat just magically appears.
Yeah,
on the
appears
table.
Right?
Next thing you know, it's
Like
in the
his
fridge.
laundry.
My laundry, yeah. I take it off sweaty. It's back folded up.
It's like
Oh, how it happens.
I don't know why people buy laundry machines. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, I'm very lucky like that. Okay, so this partnership you have with these guys seems unwavering. It's continuing today.
There's three of you. Like, I know in Seth and I can't imagine like starting a company, like a photography company with three people where everything has to be divided in three different ways financially and trying to make that all work and figure out who's going to be in charge of what. And
How did it work?
Well, I mean, interestingly, we're all like Justin and Chris are actually family members, and then I'm kind of like the honorary Lin family member. So we've been super close for a long time. So when it came down to it, it was never really a discussion. We just knew that we'd divide everything equally, that we're all going to work equally hard, and things are going to be good. And the thing is that the first thing that I say to people when they're considering a business partnership is the first thing I ask is, do you guys fight? And you know what's funny is like everyone's response is like, oh no, never. Like we don't have arguments. And I go, run the other way. Like just run. Because like if you don't argue, if you don't fight, that means that when it does actually happen, you'll be completely ill-equipped to like deal with it.
work out the problems.
Yeah. So actually being able to be comfortable with confrontations and working through them. And Justin, Chris, and I, we fight like brothers, but then we figure it out, right? Even if you have to take time apart, you figure it out. But every business relationships that has ever began with, oh yeah, we never argue. I've said, don't do it. And every time people do it, shortly after they're like, yeah, no, it was problematic. Like we couldn't figure our stuff out. We couldn't. So if you can fight and make it through the other side, and you can also divide up business responsibilities, you have something good.
Our friend Paul says that all the time. And because I've gotten counsel from folks that
yeah, I can see you guys fight all the time. Like it's fantastic. I'm just kidding.
I was like, people
like-
are seeing this.
People are how would I possibly know
Was
this?
he at breakfast
he
with
says
us
that
this
and
morning?
this is me. What did he say? No, like I've had counsel and other people have seen, like I've been in some partnerships and my outside people who know this have seen like very early on, like it doesn't look like that's going to work. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is totally going to work. And then things, they're always right. So I'm not surprised you say that. So, okay. So when did Lin and Jirsa form? Oh, you said it did. When did you start picking up steam with weddings?
Well, so in 2009, Justin and Chris were like, well, if we're going to try to do this whole portrait wedding thing, why don't you research what this actually looks like? In 2009, I came out to my very first WBPI. And this is like 11 years ago now. So this is my 11th year in the business. But when we were out here, I still didn't know how to take a picture for crap. But what I did recognize was that sitting in the audience, I was looking at the people's images on the stage, and I was like, man, those are great photographs. Like, I really like those. And then like a person next to me, I'd be like, oh, show me your portfolio. And then they show me your portfolio, and oh, those are great photographs. Like I literally could not tell the difference. And this is because I came from very much like a consumer mindset.
Yeah.
Going into the industry. It was like, I know those that come in with an artist mindset would probably be like, oh man, the people sitting next to you and there was a dramatic difference between those two, but I couldn't see it. And I was like, I can't tell the difference between any of these. They're all good, like in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they're all better than the flowers that I'm like taking pictures of. Like but what I did recognize was that the people that were generally teaching and seemed successful, they knew the business of photography. They were good in business. Whereas the audience members that seemed to struggle and try to figure out what was going on, they were artists that struggled in trying to understand how the business pieces worked. Mm-hmm. So I came back home and I was like, I think there's a really great opportunity here because we know business. We just need to learn how to take pictures. But I think we have a place that we can go into and at least be able to support us so we can work on the other stuff that we wanted to do. And then 6 months later, we shot our very first wedding. And from there, it kind of became like, okay, this is becoming like our thing. Like it very quickly was paying the bills and then some, and then we were able to grow. And within 2-3 years, we had a decent business.
What has it grown to now? You guys do like hundreds of weddings?
I mean, yeah, we do about 350 a year. It's a multi-million-dollar studio that's comprised of like 40 different creative professionals. So we have, on any given day, we can handle about 10 to 14 weddings. And so we'll do about 350 weddings a year. We also do cinema. We also do dabble in some commercial work. And then we have the educational side that takes up most of my time now.
And when did this education, well, just those numbers are staggering, I think, to a normal photographer.
And I always say, like, just ignore the numbers. Because, like, for people starting out, I honestly feel like they have to find the business model that fits their personality. For a lot of people, I know if you were to dump, like, here's this is a multi-million-dollar studio, and this is 40 professionals that you have to feed and figure out how to keep a thriving business going, they would want to jump off a cliff. Like that is, in their mind, the exact opposite of what they would want in a photography studio. Like for so many people, they want the freedom and the flexibility to be able to travel, to be able to be with their family, to be able to, and that's not necessarily what we created. We created a company that almost like it's like a family corporate structure. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, it's a large company still, but it's still like kind of close as a family, and where we love our people and we get it's a lot of fun. But once you get to that size, you do need management. You do need like a lot of different pieces in place.
Our mutual friend Brady Purrier of Blacksmith Print & Co., who we both love, I know, we talk about you all the time about what is possible. You know, our studio is the two of us. We've been contemplating expanding, and then we bring up someone like very extreme like you that has so many people working with you guys and so many weddings. But Brady always says, like, you have to ignore like the revenue number and say, do you want that shitstorm of handling that many brides and grooms, their mothers, the pros and cons.
I'm not saying that Pye manages all of this. Like, you have a nice system in place where there's a team of people that help you along the way.
Well, I think
but
also
at the beginning you are managing it. Like, I mean, at the beginning it's just me, Justin, and Chris doing it, and eventually handing things off as we go. And like,
yeah.
But that conversation is 100% right on, because like at the end of the day, it's not sustainable to set up a business that doesn't fit where your goals and where your mindset is. And so you do have to ignore every business model that's not your own and every revenue number that's not where you want to be. So in my mind, that's 100% valid.
Yeah, Beth, I think what I was saying was like, some people are just like, they'd love to make X amount of dollars, a $10 million photography company. Is just, they're probably not ready to really take on everything. I don't even know if I would be ready to take on all of this endeavor. I struggle with even finding one person who I would trust to hold our brand accountable, or, you know what I mean? To shoot
Sure.
on brand, to act on brand. And like, is that a controlling thing? When were you able to let go of that and start hiring people on while still maintaining a consistent look, feel, experience?
I mean, it's 3 years in is when the process began. We started prepping to be able to basically scale. Scaling was Justin's whole thing. Like, Justin is our operations and CEO side. I'm the creative, the chief creative officer. Chris is chief marketing officer. So scaling was all Justin, and he convinced me and Chris to do it because, to be honest, like, if it weren't for Justin, I wouldn't want to do it. Like, I don't want to manage the people. That's not the goal and dream that I have personally. So when we did that, Justin said, well, I'm going to manage, and this is my area of the business. This is what I enjoy, is the scaling and the growth and the potential. So I said, okay, I'm going to focus on creating your educational systems and your frameworks, everything that you need to train people. You implement them and make sure that they're following them. And it is still to this day like something that's stressful for me. Like, when I see, if you're doing 350 weddings a year and you're doing video and cinema, you can expect that 1%, between 1 and 3 people on a yearly basis are going to, and this is, you can expect probably more to begin with, but we're at like 1% will be, something will go wrong and there's going to be some sort of refund. You have to deal with some sort of client service issue. Some of them can be ongoing, like where you're doing like 2-3 months of dealing with, like, what do we do in this situation where something went wrong? And you had no control because it was an associate photographer who didn't act on brand, or who did something ridiculous. And it's the worst feeling in the world.
It is.
But you have to remind yourself too that, like, well, 99% of our clients are incredibly happy. And if you look at any Yelp review, we expect, like, hey man, 80% of people are happy. That's a restaurant that I want to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So granted, our scale is much more significant because with a restaurant, you don't have that much at stake. This is somebody's weddings, their family portraits, their
right.
that kind of stuff. But it's a constant thing that I still, like, I hound people about. Like, that is my job. So we have a new process that we've put back in. We took it out for like 3 years, and Justin's like, okay, it's time for you to I'm the person that, like, craps. Yeah, I crap all over things, which isn't, like, far from the truth. But I crack the creative whip. So, like, we used to do these things called pressure cookers, and we're just bringing this back. We're like, our team will literally shoot live in front of me, filmed, and I critique them as they're taking pictures.
Oh, wow.
And I will literally say, why would you make that decision? Like, what was the thought process leading up to this? And just put the pressure on as if there was.
So what does that look like? What does the pressure cooker look like? You have a bride and a groom, and then you have the photography team, and they photograph the bride and groom. They pose them. They put them into lighting. All of that?
Yeah, we bring in models, and we'll test them on a particular subject. So, for example, foundation posing is how every one of our shoots begins. Is like, you have to have a posing framework so that people can replicate your style, your be able to get clients into this mindset where you can create authentic images, even though they have no clue how to pose whatsoever. So I would develop a system of, like, this is how anybody can get people feeling comfortable, get into their heads, get into their psyche, and understand the process, and help them to kind of establish authority doing all this. It's a 15-minute process that starts at the beginning of each shoot. Then if somebody wants to test into a lead photography position, they have to pass the pressure cooker on foundation posing with me sitting there and, like I said, crapping all over what they're about to do. And it's kind of like designed to be like, well, if you get out of the car dealing, like, you just sat in rush hour, you get out of the car, you're stressed out, something's going on in your personal life and you have that pressure and then you're just asked to turn it on and go. That's kind of what we're trying to simulate is like, how would you operate when you know this person is just standing over your shoulder and judging every single thing you do? And then once they pass, they get to the next place.
I have never heard of a photography studio having these checks and balances. It's prevalent, obviously, in other aspects of life, police, firefighter. But I always wondered how.
Yeah, because you're asking, like, how do you grow how do you get associate programs? Well, there has to be an in-depth level of training that's available. And 3 years into our business, I started creating that training. And then I thought, this is a product in and of itself. And that's when SLR Lounge was born. We literally just started taking that training and just putting it online. So it's the exact same training that we use. And that's why we say, like, this isn't, SLR Lounge education is not theory. It's not like, oh, you can go and, take pretty pictures. No, this is like legit. We take people from the ground up and turn them into professional photographers over the course of 2 years. 2 years. You can come into our studio. Some of our people will do it in one. They'll go from knowing nothing about taking pictures, and in 1 year they can lead shoot a wedding, like an $8,000 wedding, and they're good, like legit good.
Yeah.
And so that's the process of development that we use and incorporate, and that's what's on SLR Lounge. So that's what we say, like, this isn't like just theory. This is like, we've now proven it thousands of times over throughout the world of people going and developing and doing the same thing.
So the SLR Lounge started 4 years ago now?
It started about 7, and then we got serious about it probably 5 years ago.
So tell me more about what all of the education is what part's free, what part's paid for, like what all is out there for photographers?
Yeah, so we have our YouTube channel, the magazine, like the blog magazine. Everything there is free. So like we do a lot of tips, tricks, like just, it's all just fun, free content, But once people are ready to like jump into the actual coursework, slrloungeworkshops.com is where it goes from the ground up. So they just like, if they are just learning the camera, they start with Photo 101, then they go to Lighting 1, Lighting 2, Lighting 3, then the Wedding Training Series. Then they're like, I'm ready to launch my business. They jump into the business training system. So it's 150 hours of like A to Z, like it just goes straight through the entire process, as opposed to like, YouTube's a fantastic place if you know what you want to learn about.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to like see a flow.
Or figure out like
the blueprint of process,
or what piece of education is best for you.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Or
like there's so much out there. Like I don't even know which one.
Right, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know. So I guess you're saying your perfect clients who go on SLR Lounge are like
brand new photographers.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone brand new, aspiring in their business, but they can't figure things out. This is the entire, there's a place for each of them. So the general lifespan is usually like 5 years, because it takes usually most people 2 to 3 years just to grasp the fundamental concepts of like photography and everything, then to get into the business training system. And then when they watch it, it begins with defining your goals. Because we're like, look, this is what we've created. This is, if you want to go for this, you can go there. But let me give you 4 other different options and goals and pathways. And like, you design your own pathway the way that you want to go. And then we literally hand you an operating manual for your business. So there's an entire guide on like when to launch each piece, what to do. Here's a set of emails. Here's contracts and like everything is there, so they can just jump straight in.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from people who've gone through your system?
It's been incredible. We post testimonials pretty frequently, but like at these trade shows, the fun part is like hearing people come up to you, and a couple came up to me today, and they're from Antigua. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we have, over the course of 3 years, built the largest photography studio in all of the islands. And all we did was follow the framework that you've set up. And they're like, we knew nothing about this. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's like my favorite thing to hear. And we hear it probably like, they went for the Lin Jirsa model, but like we'll hear these success stories of how people implement it onto their own kind of goals and vision, probably like 5 to 10 times a day. Of like people, there's literally tens of thousands of people that have gone through it and then come out and said where they have gone with it. So it's fun. At the same time, you kind of like, I wish everybody knew like that we have a manual for how to do it all.
Yeah.
Because there's so much education out there. It's so overwhelming, and so many people. I love education. I love the industry. What I don't like is the people that come in very quickly and they want to monetize on those that are new. and they'll quickly start setting up their own education and doing things. And a lot of times they're ripping off things from other people. They're taking things and they really don't have a place to teach, but somebody new doesn't know, and they'll just kind of hand them their money, and unfortunately they'll realize later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like for myself, just in the last couple days, Seth and I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago now, we switched from like a Squarespace site to a WordPress site, and we went from like number 1 on Google, even like being above the knot, all the way down to like you couldn't find us on Google. It was just totally crushed our SEO. And I was telling somebody this, maybe it was Jason Vincent, and he said, you got to check out the SEO workshop then in the SLR Lounge.
It'll literally spell out exactly why that happened. And it'll tell, I mean, people that follow the SEO course, it's so funny because we'll put this information out. We'll have, at any point in time, there might be 3,000, 4,000 premium members. And 1 or 2 of them will go and like watch it like right away. Then they'll start doing it. And they'll be like, holy crap, in like 1 week, I went from not even being listed to like number 4. And then you'll see like another group of people go and jump in. Like, and then they'll go and post. And eventually it's like this weird slow trickle that everybody needs to see evidence of things working.
Yeah.
But yeah, it literally spells out the entire process of SEO.
I thought that, so like talking about like new photographers can learn so much from the education you provide, but like Seth and I have been in this for 10 years. Like I know that somebody else was even saying on the business model. I want you to explain here in a second how there's like 3 different like groups.
The business courses?
Yeah, the courses.
Oh, the groups.
Yeah, like there's like
there's
editing,
the lighting.
Oh, yeah.
Business.
Can I have some of your Mountain Dew, Bethy?
Yeah, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's wedding and portrait, which is like just focusing on kind of like wedding and portrait type work. Then there's lighting for people that, they're really trying to focus and hone in on lighting. There's the business group, which is just business talk and business conversation. And then the editing side. And we kind of separated those groups out just because we felt like as people move through different phases, their needs shift and change. Like at one point, it is all about like, okay, now I know how to light and I know how to do these basic things, but why do these poses look off? And so we wanted to make sure each of these groups had like an expert panel, and that's where our ambassadors come in. There's an expert panel in each of these groups that are there to help and guide the conversation.
What sort of like materials would be in the group? Like, is it video? Are there like PDFs? Like what all sort of material is there? Content?
Well, so the groups are free to join, and what we post on YouTube, we'll usually jump into the groups and we'll start conversations around it. Meanwhile, the ambassadors are also posting stuff from the weekly content. So they'll post like an entire concept. So that way, because we want people that, are in the group to have value. Like even though they're not paying for anything, we want them there to be value in the group. So they'll post a concept from the course and start a dialogue around it. And then everybody can kind of chime in. And
like what would be an example that off the top of your head?
Like in the lighting group, Jason Vincent is the leader of that group. And so he might say, this week is going to be all about hard light. And Jason is kind of known for his hard light style. So he'll say, here's some of my imagery on this. This comes from this course, and this is where we discuss it in the lighting series. Let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about it. So the people that are in the course can like literally be submitting their images as they're like going through and like doing the content. People that are new can still read that little excerpt and say, oh, I want to try this out for myself and kind of get an idea of how to work with hard light.
My mind is blown how you've grown this online education, the weddings. There's often times in this podcast, like I'm sort of the host and I queue up questions. Beth does a great job at color commentary and like asking one too. But like,
I'm not being as funny as I normally am.
No, sometimes I'm just like, it's a lot to take in as someone.
I know.
Like, are there photography studios that are as big as you guys? Like, I can't, again, having struggled even hiring like one associate, thinking about the systems you guys have implemented and then working toward education, there's just so many hours. Like, I looked at, like it's now been a thing I've seen, which is modeled after your website, where you guys have honestly become like the education staple for everything weddings, not just like even our website is a little more of like, here's our stuff, here's our contact, hire us. Mm-hmm. But you've developed like, here's all the venues in all these places. Here's what an Indian wedding event, what they are. I mean, we go to your website to learn about Indian weddings. Like, what has driven you guys to do all this, to just go the extra mile and be so awesome?
And continue to be more awesome.
Yeah, how?
And more
I just can't. You see, I don't know how to ask the question. Like,
You guys are sweet. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same. I think it's the same concept that we followed throughout this whole thing. Is we found that by giving value, you get customers. So, like, our YouTube is driven off of it. Our premium membership is driven off of it. And our Lin Jirsa is driven off of it. So we're just trying to help clients to figure out what they want, what they need. And believe me, I'll get clients. I had one, like, this was like 6 months ago. I had a client call, and it was a potential client, so not yet booked. And the guy called me up, and he was like, and my client, my studio manager kind of like gave me a little warning, like, this one might be a little odd one. But he calls me and he goes, so I'm looking at so-and-so photography, and I'd really like to know what makes your work so special, because I really like her work. And I was like, dude, that's great. Like,
Yeah.
you should go hire her, because if you found that style that fits you, like, go and hire that person. And the weird thing about it is, like, when you're helpful, like, people, they oddly do this weird game in their heads where they're like, oh, but yeah, no, but I just want to know, like, what makes your work like different. I'm like, dude, if you can't see the difference, I'd probably say just go that. And I'm like pushing him hard to like that direction. And this other photographer is great. Like, she does really good work. And the styles are so completely different. And then he's like, yeah, but do you really feel like her work is that much better than yours? And I was like, it's very subjective, right? Because everybody has their own style. And it gets into this educational dialogue where by the end of it, he's like, I'm going to think about booking you guys. And I was like, okay, okay. So I don't know. I feel like just giving value to people and trying to help them in the direction of, like,
yeah.
It's such an odd thing, because I do feel like in general we're naturally geared to be kind of think self-serving, and we kind of want to, like, what can I get? What can I book? How much money can I get someone to spend on something? And in reality, if you actually flip the script into what value can I create for them and what can I do to help them, they end up wanting to give you their business. And so it's been the same thing on the wedding side, is we just create content. We just create things that we would want if we were clients.
That was the gist of us making this podcast. People have asked us, so why are you doing this? And I was like, I don't know. I just wanted to talk with Beth about stuff. And so, like, I honestly probably, this is a cheap ploy to so I can have this conversation with you and some other cool cats in the photography game. And next thing you know, it's so I guess this is our sort of form of maybe trying to it turned into us educating our clients on what's important to us.
100%.
And thus, like, letting them in on us a bit. And it's been so.
So I know that you have 3 little ones at home.
Yes.
So what did they say about all of this? Like,
my oldest wants to be on YouTube. So he's like,
How old is he?
9.
Her?
He's a 9.
9. We have a 9-year-old. Okay. Ours.
9-year-old boy too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a 9-year-old boy?
Yeah.
How many kids do you guys
We
have?
have two boys, 9 and 6. So.
9 and 6. So mine are 9, 7, and 6. My girl is the in between.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the 2 younger ones kind of don't really know what's going on still. But my oldest is like, I really want to be a YouTuber. And he'll watch, like, dad's videos and stuff. It's really cute. It's really adorable. And he'll pick up the camera. We just got him his first camera. And that's the thing. Being the son of a professional photographer, you just get the last one that's handed down. So we just hand down like a $3,000 camera to like a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you
Here
don't know what this is, but
Have at
people
it.
3 times your age want it. So,
Yeah. What's his name? What's the 9-year-old's name?
Ethan.
Ethan.
Yeah.
What kind of has he done any videos?
Not yet. I'm struggling with this because, like, I don't like the kids being too into
Us too.
like web stuff and like I want that, but at the same time, like, I want them to do other things and have a balance. And I know if I get him into YouTube and creating content right now, it's like that's just going to be his whole, like, his whole life is going to be the iPad and YouTube and creating stuff. And I don't know. I struggle with it because, like, I don't want him to be like a child star. I don't even know if that would happen. But, like, I just feel like growing up with your life on display in every case that I see kind of messes you up.
Yeah. Have you been hesitant to do that? Because I see you all over the tutorial videos now. I love seeing your face come across Facebook. I'm like, oh yeah, here's Pye. I start listening. But it's funny. I'm wondering what your thoughts on that, because I think I wanted my kid to be. He showed signs of being really good at basketball.
Yeah.
And then when everyone else kept up, he wasn't passionate about practicing.
Yeah.
But he loves YouTube. We started a podcast, and he was so like I just started a podcast with him.
Because
like,
we have a podcast studio.
So we sit and talk just like this, and he's a natural. I mean, he'll just take it away.
That's right.
So I went from like, he watches these crazy assholes on YouTube just like doing crazy shit, and Beth and I can't stand it. We have to like block some of these jungle juices or not
jungle juice.
John Jamba juice and
guava juice.
Guava juice and the Dude Perfect and all these crazy ass people.
Dude Perfect's okay.
Yeah,
Dude Perfect's pretty
great.
awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, so it sounds like you're like.
But having that time with Gio was
so
great for you too.
Yeah, I just did it to spend more time with them. We still have to continue it. These kids are they into sports, your kids?
Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Oh, you do that too?
Yeah, so we all do it as a family.
Oh my gosh.
That's so great.
It's fun.
Our boys wrestle.
Yeah, it's very similar.
They would love. Well, I don't know if Gio would, but Hank, the youngest, would just love jiu-jitsu so much.
That's a whole nother, I feel like a jiu-jitsu cult leader. Like when I talk about that,
How long
I
have you
could
been
talk about
doing it?
jiu-jitsu forever. I've only been doing it for like 7 months.
Oh.
Lee actually got me into it. Lee Morris, the F-stopper. Lee.
Oh, yeah.
So he took me to my first class it was like 8 months ago now. And
Okay.
then,
How do you even start with that?
You basically just go, you get your ass kicked, and
Yeah.
you're like, this was horrible. And then the next day you're like, I really want to go do that again.
Especially the first time. I mean, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, but it's like they call jiu-jitsu like the gentle art. So it's like a gentle ass kicking. Like you just kind of like roll around, and before you know it, like you can't breathe, and then you're like, and you just pass out, and you're like, okay, that was nice.
So when you guys do it as a family, what does that look like? Like everybody goes?
Yeah, so my girlfriend and I we have our adult class, and so we'll bring our gis, and then we go and watch the kids first. They have their kids class, and all 3 kids will be in the class. Like it's really fun because like you have all the other parents there. You'll just have like one kid in there, and then like everyone's like, hey guys,
Right.
and then you'll see like because they run in circles, right? And so every parent's like waving at their kids, and then our trio will go by and they're like, hey everyone, like and they're all 3 of them are like waving at us, and we're like, yeah, we have 3 of them in here. And like it's fun.
So do they hurt each other? What is that?
No, I mean,
the
the
point
kids'
is to hurt
classes-
each other, right?
No, I mean, even as adults, the goal is to not get hurt, really. And even in the adult classes, like the higher belts are very good about being gentle with newer students and like just kind of and it's usually the white belts that end up injuring other people.
Oh.
Because white belts, they have a tendency, they don't really know what's going on. So somebody that knows jiu-jitsu, you expect certain things and for them to move in certain ways. And you'll get a white belt, that comes in and he's like all muscle 250, and then he'll just drop down on somebody. And you're like, so we have to be careful more so of like the people that are new versus like those that are experienced are usually very kind.
They know the skills.
I watch the Joe Rogan podcast religiously.
I love Joe Rogan.
He talks all about this and what it's done for his life.
He
so.
does jiu-jitsu too?
Well,
Yeah,
he's been a fighter his whole life,
He's
right?
legit. Like he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, taekwondo. Like he's legit.
He spent his teens like traveling the country, like taekwondo tournaments and all that stuff.
That's how he knows so much about the fighting and stuff?
Yeah. So anyway, that's another astounding story. But he loves jiu-jitsu and the idea of like all of it, the clothes, the way it's just incredible. I guess I'm somewhat drawn to it, but you say like you try not to get hurt. I'm like, I try not to get hurt when I'm making toast as well. I mean, like I only get hurt when I do physical activities.
Right? It's like tennis just whoops you.
Yeah. So I'm more of a.
You guys will be fine.
Oh.
They take it like it's very gradual, very easy, and like, yeah.
Like what happens if I did it? Like, do I have to be flexible? Do I have to?
No, like you should like find a gym that has other girls because like sometimes there's a little bit of awkwardness like with girls that roll with guys and that kind of stuff. Like,
Oh.
and this is the only thing I would say is if you have a hard time like with sweat, then it might not be the right sport because you're like
I'm
literally.
married to that guy, right?
I sweat making a phone call.
The joke is like he's taking a ring shot and he's like, Beth, can you get my sweat rag?
Okay, so you're prepped. You're
You're
good.
prepped. I'm good. I'm so good.
You're prepped on the sweat.
Other people sweat though, Beth. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's really like whatever.
Yeah.
That's a podcast episode in itself. As Seth and Beth goes to jiu-jitsu.
Oh wow.
More of a comedy, I think.
I would be watching that. That would be amazing.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my
I
gosh.
appreciate being here, guys. This is probably the most fun I've had so far.
Oh my gosh.
I've had a lot of fun, but this is fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this photography from my vantage point, like a photography kingdom that you've.
There's some stuff, honey, that I like personally. I'm gonna go check out on SLR.
Well, I mean, there's no better place to find it out. We've definitely heard from our peers, mentors, even
Seth
people
and I
who
kind of
are-
go like back and forth and like the creativity, like I don't know, like we used to be like hell bent on like getting Fearless Awards and being like so crazy in the way that we shoot and stuff, and now we're trying to like more work on some of
client experience.
but there's just, I don't know, like sometimes there's just shit I want to try. I just want to try some stuff. So,
Yeah, we switched. Beth was saying how we switched from a Squarespace site to a WordPress.
Yeah.
Our SEO went to shit.
Yeah.
And to this day, it still bothers me. And I'm like, I really just want to switch back to a Squarespace site so I have more control. With WordPress all over the place. I don't want to get too nerdy about this, but like, so like, I'm not in love with where our website is and how much control we have.
Well, I'll tell you this: WordPress actually is better for SEO. So
I know everyone said that, but at the current status, I just don't know WordPress enough to do the things I want to do on it. So like make a dedicated page about our experiences with Indian weddings, which we really love doing and we'd love more of. That'd probably be a pretty difficult process for us.
but if it was Squarespace, you
I
could
could
do
just build it in an afternoon.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of simplicity with the Squarespace side, and your switch over most likely, like there's a lot of considerations whenever you switch a website.
Yeah.
In terms of just all the potential things that can not break from the site, but break from Google's side.
Yeah.
So, and that's what Google will give you lots of dings for, and every one of those dings that they catch drops your ranking lower and lower and lower.
Yeah. I think someone who's modeled I know you can do like a website search of where your website lands in the world. Like, and ours was like at like 8 million or something. A friend of ours, Ben Hartley, who runs Style and Story Creative in Columbus, has taken some of your, I don't know if he got it from you, but it's very similar. I mean, they have guides on Indian weddings and venues. It looks a lot like what you guys have done, and they're in like the 1 millions.
Yeah.
And so like we are both friends. We went out for drinks last night, and obviously we're competing for clients. But like just that the eightfold difference was like shocking to us about how much we're probably not putting into the efforts of getting the website going. Now I would say is along the same lines, what we have found is like actually just forgetting about all that bullshit and caring more about our clients has been rewarding as well.
Yeah.
So it's just back and forth, this balance of like, how much nerd work am I going to do to have someone find us as opposed to just...
Wait, we just learned this from Davina. You don't call it a balance.
Right, you call it a harmony.
A harmony. Because
Yeah.
a balance can like throw you off, right?
A harmony is just different notes of getting played. So like, what's the harmony of spending time on that versus calling my client and bullshitting with them for an hour and then gaining some personal trust that can result in more happiness and a bigger album sale and things. So
Yeah.
I struggle with this. There's obviously photography is very technical, and there's a personal experience side of it that I think we're going through and trying to figure out. So
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, like, I think you have the right idea of just doing all of it. Because, like, the reason why Lin Jirsa consistently, like, we are turning down, so we take on 350 weddings a year, but we get somewhere around 900 to 1,000 leads a month.
A month.
So we just don't follow up and we just take on the ones that we basically want to be working on.
yeah.
The only reason that we're able to do that is because we're actually targeting several different avenues. So not only do we work with venues to make sure that we're in those venues and have images up there on all the local venues that we want to be at, but we also target those venues in SEO. And then we also create content through SEO. And then we work on vendor relationships. I mean, 20 to 30% of our new leads come from referrals from like the weddings that we work. So at the weddings that we work, we put up same day slideshows, or we put up different things to like make sure that business cards get out. So we're kind of working each of these different avenues, and there's a different kind of process owner for each one of them to make sure that we don't drop the ball on them. But that's, in my opinion, the only way to create a sustainable and thriving lead generation funnel that won't, your business isn't going to suffer if you lose one of these paths. You know what I mean? So every one of them kind of goes into what is a very healthy lead generation system. And if you only focus on one avenue, when that one avenue dries up, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
that was probably, Beth, on our website, we had the shocking revelation. We were getting like 900 visits a month, and it went down to like 19.
Yeah.
And so we had to start doing different things, but we're great when we're happy.
Took us time. Yeah.
We're great. We're happy. And we're excited to learn, especially from someone like yourself.
I am excited to,
Absolutely.
like I always get excited, like if there is defeat like that, you ride the roller coaster back up, and then once you get to the top, you're like, well, damn, look at us.
Yeah,
for sure.
The success, though, doing it and being successful in it is just part of the adventure that I love so much.
100%. And like I know it's like, it's difficult to see your ranking drop, especially when it's from a technical error. But after you learn the WordPress side, or if you decide to switch back to Squarespace, that works too. But once you deal with it and get to the other side, you now know, like, okay, in a transition, this is what I need to do. And it's no longer an issue because you're like, I can get it back up. Like I know how to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting, Beth. Tell all the folks how they can find you and your education outlets.
Well, SLR Lounge Workshops is our premium. So slrloungeworkshops.com is where they can sign up for all of our premium stuff. We have just SLR Lounge on YouTube as well as Instagram. They can follow us free. We have tons of free tutorials. We're on there on a weekly basis. We're also creating weekly content for Adorama TV. They can follow me personally at Pye Jirsa, at Lin Jirsa for our client work. We have it's a ridiculous list of things to.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on, giving this insight, and giving some folks some outlets to
Giving us your time.
I appreciate it,
get
guys.
educated, and it's nice to spend an hour with you. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pretty Please with Sugar on Top, Seth and Beth podcast, and sethandbeth.com is where you can find our beautiful that's nice, Beth. Our beautiful work in Ohio. So for my wife, Beth, I love you.
Love you.
Pye, thank you for coming on. You're incredible. And
We love you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me,
guys.
guys.
Thanks
This
for
is
watching,
amazing.
everyone. Appreciate it.